Hey everybody, it's Nick and Keith. Really just want to come to you today and talk about something we're hearing quite a bit of feedback from, and that is from some new families we're talking to, and really they're describing now what? What do I do now that maybe if I didn't have the buckets in place before this, I maybe saw more of a downturn than I was expecting to see, but how do I fix it now? What do I do? So can you kind of lend to kind of from a strategy standpoint, what do you do when we're this far in?
Yeah, well, practically not everybody had buckets going into this that you've sent our way. We appreciate your continued support of sending your family over. And they're kind of rechecking their strategy and plan. Or even for some, they're saying, is that the amount of risk that I really wanted? Yeah. I think anybody that's got any investments today is reevaluating, wow, what 30% sounds like and what it feels like are two different things. But in terms of business owners, which we're going to address in another discussion, but I think bucket one is the critical part. You've got to have money. If you've really over allocated or stretched yourself in terms of risk, Nick, as we talked about a client that came to, they just had too much risk even today. Because anybody and everybody that suggests that they know what the market's going to do or what the federal government's going to do in terms of policy is foolish. They don't. Or they're a liar, worse. And I think that the focus would be on bucket one, making sure you have money available as a multiple. So the way we calculate that in our timeline-based investment strategy for bucket one is, number one, what are your needs, not your wants. Today especially, keep out the vacation or the new car purchase. You got a serviceable car, but the needs are things like your mortgage payment, your roof, your utilities, your food, miscellaneous in there. And let's say that number is $5,000. At the minimum, what we want to have, particularly for individuals that are W-2s, is we want to focus on getting to bucket one to at least 3 months. Okay. For many of our retirees, as we know, we're trying to get that number to 3 years so they can weather a much bigger downturn. So that's our aim. But for younger families or folks that really didn't have bucket strategy, and they probably don't have 3 months. Some of the new families are calling us, might have 3 weeks. But it helps them understand what that metric should be.
So with the buckets, when you're setting them out, really, going back to the time-based strategy is really what you're alluding to more than anything, is looking at that. I think evaluating how much you need in the short term, but also, how much time do you have until maybe retirement. I think sometimes this isn't, sadly, this isn't something we're seeing in a specific demographic type. Right. We see this whether, 35 or maybe even 65, this is kind of still coming up to where, so I think understanding the timeline which you need to use your money will also impact your ability to what bucket percentage you need to go into.
That bucket one place, such as we call it save or spend, it provides such a critical opportunity if it's got ample resources to see you through your needs for several months or even years. This could be a really opportune time to deploy some of that money into bucket three to look for some returns or some discounts out in the market. So without knowing your operating needs from a household level,
how do you know if you can't deploy? Or
you really don't know. So people say that's a great time to buy. Well, it might be just a great time to buy some groceries. But it might be a really opportune time to buy stocks, and knowing the difference between the two couldn't be more important right now.
That's great.